Library of Congress. The Library of Congress is the research library that officially serves the United States Congress and is the de facto National Library of the United States. It is the oldest federal cultural institution in the country. The library is housed in 3 buildings on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. It also maintains a conservation center in Culpeper, Virginia. The library's functions are overseen by the Librarian of Congress, and its buildings are maintained by the architect of the Capitol. The Library of Congress is one of the largest libraries in the world. Its collections are universal, not limited by subject, format, or national boundary, and include research materials from all parts of the world and in more than 470 languages. Congress moved to Washington, D.C. in 1800 after holding sessions for 11 years in the temporary national capitals in New York City and Philadelphia. In both cities, members of the U.S. Congress had access to the sizable collections of the New York Society Library and the Library Company of Philadelphia. The small Congressional Library was housed in the United States Capitol for most of the 19th century until the early 1890s. Most of the original collection was burnt by the British during the War of 1812, with the library beginning efforts to restore its collection in 1815. The library purchased Thomas Jefferson's entire personal collection of 6,487 books, and its collection slowly expanded in the following years, although it suffered another fire in its Capitol chambers in 1851. This destroyed a large amount of the collection, including many of Jefferson's books. After the American Civil War, the importance of the Library of Congress increased with its growth, and there was a campaign to purchase replacement copies for volumes that had been burned. The library received the right of transference of all copyrighted works to deposit 2 copies of books, maps, illustrations, and diagrams printed in the United States. It also began to build its collections. Its development culminated between 1888 and 1894 with the construction of its own separate, large library building across the street from the Capitol. 2 additional buildings have been constructed nearby to hold collections and provide services, one in the 1930s and one in the 1970s. The library's primary mission is to research inquiries made by members of Congress, which is carried out through the Congressional Research Service. It also houses and oversees the United States Copyright Office. The library is open to the public for research, although only high-ranking government officials and library employees may check out, i.e., remove from the premises, books and materials. 1800 to 1851, Origin and Jefferson's contribution. James Madison of Virginia is credited with the idea of creating a congressional library, first making such a proposition in 1783. The Library of Congress was subsequently established on April 24, 1800, when President John Adams signed an act of Congress also providing for the transfer of the seat of government from Philadelphia to the new capital city of Washington. Part of the legislation appropriated $5,000 for the purchase of such books as may be necessary for the use of Congress, and for fitting up a suitable apartment for containing them. Books were ordered from London, and the collection consisted of 740 books and 3 maps, which were housed in the new United States Capitol. President Thomas Jefferson played an important role in establishing the structure of the Library of Congress. On January 26, 1802, he signed a bill that allowed the President to appoint the Librarian of Congress and establishing a joint committee on the library to regulate and oversee it. The new law also extended borrowing privileges to the President and Vice President.